Following are 6 scripture verses concerning last days signs on the earth and in the skies.
Mark chapter 13, verse 25. And the stars will be falling from the sky, and the powers that are in the heavens will be shaken.
Luke chapter 21, verse 11. There will be great earthquakes, famines and pestilences in various places, and fearful events, and great signs from heaven.
Luke chapter 21, verse 25. There will be signs in the sun, moon and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea.
Joel chapter 2 verse 30. And I will show signs and wonders in the heavens and in the earth, blood, and fire, and pillars of smoke.
2 Peter chapter 3, verse 10. But the day of the Lord will come as a thief, the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall be dissolved with fervent heat, and the earth and the works that are therein shall be burned up.
2 Peter chapter 3, verse 12. Looking for and earnestly desiring the coming of the day of God, by reason of which the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat.
Keep these verses in mind as we look at a series of events that have happened in just the last couple of months. Let's look at the signs we've been seeing in 2026. They seem to be occurring in rapid succession as we're beginning to see them one after another. Are we seeing the signs as birth pains beginning to increase because we are nearing the end of days? And we have to consider and ask ourselves, are we right at the door to the rapture? So with these questions in mind, let's take a look at the signs that have been happening in just the last couple of months. The start of this rapid succession of signs started in the last few days in May. The last sign I'll be talking about began in June, so all of these signs have occurred in a month or a little less. Some of the words I'm hearing as I consider these signs are rare, record, and hasn't occurred since a long period of time. When I hear these words and phrases, I understand that something unusual and significant is happening. May 2026. We start out with 2 sonic booms. The first was heard in South Carolina on May 28, and 2 days later a sonic boom was heard in New England due to a meteor entering Earth's atmosphere. The cause of the sonic boom heard in South Carolina is still a mystery. May-June 2026. Then, at the same time frame as the sonic booms and following were 3 occurrences of fireballs on May 27, June 14, and June 19. June 2026. Earthquakes. Following these signs, earthquake activity has ramped up in frequency and intensity. To start us off, a 6.1 earthquake that struck off the western coast of Cuba on June 8 was felt as far north as Orlando, Florida. A news station in Orlando stated that this was the strongest earthquake to hit this close to Florida in recorded history. And then on June 24, 3 strong quakes on 3 different continents occurred. The first was a 5.6 magnitude quake that struck Northern California. According to reports, this quake was the strongest to hit that area since 1940. Afterwards, a doublet earthquake hit on the northern Venezuela coast not too far from the capital Caracas. If you don't know what a doublet earthquake is, the following is the definition. A rare seismic event where 2, or more, separate earthquakes of similar magnitude hit roughly the same area in rapid succession. Concerning this one, a 7.2 magnitude earthquake hit first, followed only 39 seconds later by a 7.5 magnitude quake. These quakes caused extensive damage and over 1,000 deaths, with the death total expected to rise significantly as rescue efforts are ongoing. According to some reports, these doublet quakes were the strongest to hit Venezuela since 1900. Then, approximately 30 minutes after the quakes in Venezuela, a magnitude 6.9 quake struck Japan. In the days following these quakes, there was a flurry of earthquake activity in the Caribbean, Afghanistan, southern Illinois, off the coast of Oregon, Indonesia, and some strong aftershocks in Venezuela. Heat. Also in June, record temperatures were set in several countries in the continents of Asia, Europe, and North America. And to add to the heat, wildfires were raging across Spain, France, and Portugal. What is the probability of all of these signs, happening in rapid succession, occurring in the time frame of a month? If I were to guess, I would say that the probability is very low to none. Some may say that this is just a coincidence, but I don't think so. I've never seen such a rapid occurrence of end-time events in such a short time frame in the 67 years that the Lord has given me on this earth. So, as the thumbnail asks, what is going on? To answer that question, I'll refer back to a question earlier in this video: are we seeing the signs as birth pains beginning to increase because we are nearing the end of days? I believe that is the case here. According to Matthew's account, the disciples came to Jesus and asked him in Matthew 24, verse 3 the following questions. When will these things be? What shall be the sign of your coming? What shall be the sign of the end of the world? If you want to cross-reference Matthew's account, you can read Mark's account and Luke's account in Mark 13 and Luke 21. Jesus begins to tell them the signs that would be occurring in answer to these questions. And in verse 8 of the same chapter he says, all these are the beginning of birth pains. As a woman in labor draws closer to the birth of her baby, the labor pains become more frequent and greater in intensity. So, what I believe Jesus is saying here is that as we see the end-time signs occurring more frequently and with greater intensity, we know that his return is drawing near and the end of the world. Jesus said in Matthew 24, verse 33, when you see all these things happening, know that he, Jesus, is near, even at the doors. If that's the case, what should we be doing? Jesus tells us in Matthew 24, verse 42 to watch, and in verse 44 to be ready. Watch the signs, and be ready, as were the wise virgins in Matthew 25. Jesus told us these signs would be happening before his return to the earth. If we see the signs happening presently and with greater frequency and intensity, and we know the rapture will occur 7 years before his return, are we even at the doors of the rapture? It sure appears that way. Therefore, I have two final questions: are you watching? Are you ready?